Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this is I think the third version of this bill. The first version came out of the Senate committee clean, thanks to the senator from Newton and her help. This has been a priority for the first 3 years of my career in the Senate. This is just doing the best we can to fight for foster care kids. That's kind of the general sense of what I'm trying to do with this bill. It came out of our family's desire. My wife is a licensed professional counselor, which I've said I think ad nauseum. Maybe every time I get up here I mention my wife. I'm super proud of her. And she works with kids, has worked with foster care adoptive kids, and does great work. And we've seen some of the things that have happened in the court system that make us really concerned. And then on top of that, as we studied the issue in the district, hearing from constituents, and as we see some of the unique situations that are happening in the foster care system, as we asked the Children's Division what they're dealing with, and when we ask foster care parents and adoptive kids and adoptive and foster care parents what they're dealing with, it's highly concerning what the system looks like. So from a high level view, this comes from a heart of wanting to fight for foster care kids, and that's the premise of what we're doing here. Now, the bill has several provisions in there that are kind of unique, and I think they're three pretty substantial provisions. One, the first provision is to ensure that these kids in very unique placements right now that have behavioral challenges can find a place to stay that doesn't include hospitals, hotels, or businesses. And right now there are approximately 200 kids in the state of Missouri in the state's care that stay in hotels, they stay in businesses, they stay in hospitals, and those places are not made to house kids with behavioral challenges. I mean, at the end of the day, we're doing these kids a disservice just by them being in the foster care system. It's hard enough that they've been ripped from many homes. These are kind of some of the hardest kids. They can't get to another setting due to a variety of reasons. So we're trying to assuage some of those concerns with this bill, allowing these kids to be placed in the state. Right now, we have 80 kids that are placed out of state, and this is incredibly expensive. And so this is all in a desire, this first portion of this bill is in a desire to figure out how do we get these kids in the right placement, how do we take care of them, how do we honor them, how do we do what we can to take care of those kiddos and get them in a good spot. And I'll just say really quick, the cost of sending these kids out of state, and in the state's fiscal year 2024, the total cost, according, I think this is from the department, I'm pretty sure it is that the total costs were over $10 million for those kids that we sent out of state. That was just for 100 kids approximately that year. In fiscal year 2025 already, up to February 24th, so not even to the end of this fiscal year, we've spent over $13 million. That's a daily rate in 24 of $800 is now $1,000 to ship these kids to other states, which again, we're shipping kids. Think about what that feels like to a foster care kid that they don't even stay in their home state and the cost that entails. So that's the first piece of it. I'm glad to talk about that more. There is some liability language in there, qualified immunity that we've tried to give these placement centers because you got to give them some protection. These are obviously very, very hard kids to deal with, and I think that's been an area where we've had a lot of discussion, try to come to some conclusion on how to give some qualified immunity to those facilities that are willing to take these kids. The second piece that's really important and really where this bill was born from is the right to counsel, and that provision came out of a desire to give kids legal resources and parents legal resources in the legal system to get them to permanency faster. And so the Supreme Court worked with me incredibly well. The judicial, I can't speak enough to how they have helped me think through this language and get it to a point where they feel comfortable appointing counsel for kids that are 14 years and older in the foster care system, so that they have somebody going to bat that are on their side in the court system. And I think some of the problem in the court system is that there's just not enough tension to allow these kids to get through the system quicker. And so we want to provide some resources to that. And the third provision is something that I already got in the budget last year, was a pilot project, which I hope we'd expand at some point, to create the Child and Family Representation Department through the state Supreme Court, which would provide resources to circuits across the state to go to bat for these kids in the legal system, to provide circuits with resources and training and opportunities for lawyers to focus on children's issues and have resources to cover their expenses. So there's some important pieces in here that are really big priorities to me. I think they'd be good for foster care kids. We've vetted some of these for a couple years. And Mr. President, I'm excited that's on the floor, and I look forward to discussion on this. If there is none, I'll renew my motion.